All right guys, today on Land Beat we're talking about the benefits of timber thinning and the follow-up prescribed fire and what that does for deer. All right guys, today you're following us along here on the fire, and this property itself has been logged, and so the canopy has been open. It was very mismanaged timber in years previous. Logging operation now has come through, thinned the canopy, and now we're in the follow-up phases of doing prescribed fire. If you follow along with us, you're very familiar with the phrase cut, burn, repeat. That is a series of actions, multi-step process to get the best bang for the buck, if you know what I'm talking about, when it comes to managing your property. Gosh, did you like that pun I just did?
Yeah.
I just threw that out there. I like
good.
that. So when we're talking about managing and following up with prescribed fire, I see a lot of people just using prescribed fire and not thinning the canopy, but what they're really missing out on is the value of added sunlight or energy into that actual timber stand at the ground level that's going to spur on new plants. So what that really looks like from standpoint of forage and tonnage, University of Auburn did some research where they had a closed canopy timber, it was about an 8-acre site, and they thinned the canopy by 30%. So there's 70% canopy, 30% open sky, allowing, again, 30% sunlight to reach the forest floor. Then they applied prescribed fire. Previous to that thinning and burning, the site per acre was averaging about 100 pounds of food, deer food per acre, right? So in that 30% thinning followed up by fire, they were able to increase the amount of deer food per acre by 500%. That's a lot of percent. So now we're talking about the difference between 100 pounds of food an acre now into 500 pounds of food per acre by thinning the canopy and then burning. You're not going to get that if you just thin the canopy, and you're certainly not going to get that if you just burn the understory and not even open up the canopy to allow that sunlight and energy into the system. So we're following that research and doing our own thinning and following up with prescribed fire to get that same benefit. Now I know a lot of people are asking, well, how do I actually thin the canopy? There's a lot of different ways. It's very dependent upon your area, your actual timber stand, if you have commercial value. But there are ways to do that if you don't have quality trees that can be harvested by a logger and removed off site to open up that canopy. What we're talking about is then timber stand improvement or forest stand improvement, where you're actually going in and you're selecting trees to kill. You can kill them by girdle and spray, hack and squirt, or simply cutting them down with the chainsaw, treating the stump, and that will then open up the canopy. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. We have a lot of other content talking about timber stand improvement, those techniques, addressing them specifically here on Land Beat, so I encourage you to check those out. But there's a lot of different ways to achieve both timber thinning and prescribed fire. That, bar none, in timber country for managing whitetails is the best way to maximize your timber ground. It's not always best to put in a food plot. It's not always best to put in a bedding area. You have to manage that transition, and by increasing deer forage, improving mass crops, removing 30% of the canopy and following up prescribed fire, you will see a dramatic increase in the amount of forage that you can produce per acre for whitetail deer.